Hey guys, what's cracking? Absolutely beast here. So I'm bringing you a race today on Forza Motorsport 7. This is on Prague, and this is using the Audi R8 V10, which is an awesome car. So this is in the new multiplayer hopper, which is called the Endurance GT series. So this is obviously just see some of the cars here. There's like a McLaren 12C right there, the race version. There's a couple C7R Corvettes. That looks like a C6R Corvette there. I'm driving the Audi R8 V10. I was driving the Nissan GTI, the Moto Alltech GTR from the demo. And so this is just the real, like, the GT class. This is, ooh, that was close there, huh? This is one of my favorite classes to race in so far in this game. I've been racing the GTI before this for a couple of races. Now, the race lengths in this hopper are tripled, and there's simulation damage and fuel and tire wear and all that kind of stuff. So you can, if you crash, you can get damaged, or you usually do get damaged. You can run out of fuel, you can have bad tires, you can, that was real close, I almost avoided that one there. There's an Aston Martin DBR9 there, which is my old favorite car from Forza 6. Before I switched to the McLaren, but, so this race I think is about 25 minutes, which is a pretty lengthy race, but it's an epic race. Just the adversity that I overcame in this race was a lot. I ended up setting a time that I think ranked me 15th on this track, so I'm 15 in the Americas. And this was my, I mean, like maybe second time racing this track on this game. But like I said, I've been using the GDI and just wasn't able to stay competitive. I like that car a lot, and it sounds really good and it felt really good, but it just, man, it's just horrible, huh? What could I have done there? I mean, I guess I could have slowed down a ton, but I wasn't, I mean, I don't want to do that, you know? It's unfortunate. And, you know, that's not me being rude or anything. It's just, you know, when you're talking about races like this, like, you really have to take it easy because there's full damage. So, right there, I just lost all that time. Not only did I crash, which would be bad enough as it is, but now I lost all that time and I have to be in here in the pit for this entire period of time and just be, you know, get dumped back all the way in the back. So, anyway, it's just, you know, it's a longer race, which is excellent for me because I'm a really consistent driver. I can't always get the fastest times, but I'm usually very consistent. So I did really well. I think I did crash one time near the end of the race, maybe like lap 9 or 10. I did crash pretty hard. I think it might be earlier than that, but definitely in the second half of the race, I did crash pretty hard going through the city section and lost them. I mean, that was basically the race for me. But I mean, you know, to be ranked where I was, so I was using the GTR, and even though it felt good, it just wasn't being competitive for me, and I just wasn't coming in any decent place. Now, you know, these simulation races are hard. You can't be as aggressive as you normally would. Not like you normally would be aggressive and hit people or anything like that. It's just like you have to be a lot more conservative, because if you know, you might be willing to lose a couple of seconds sitting behind someone waiting to pass them, because if you try to pass them aggressively and you end up hitting them or something, you're both going to crash, and you'll probably lose, you know, 30 seconds, maybe more, depending on how bad the damage is to your car. And that's what happened to me in some of the earlier races. Like one of the GTR races, I got hit really hard by a guy who was intentionally taking another guy out, and he ended up causing a massive pileup, and he caused 8 of us to have to go into the pit. Out of, you know, 18 racers, 8 of us were in the pit for damage on like the second or third lap of the race of 27 laps, so it was just horrible. And that wasn't very fun. But just, you know, racing like this really brings me back to racing really competitively, because I mean, like I said, you have to be really conservative, and it's really intense. Knowing, you know, racing side by side, wheel to wheel with somebody, knowing that, you know, you could easily tap each other and both spin out and hit the wall, and that's going to be your entire race is over. It's really intense. The feeling you get is not like regular racing. It's a very, very heightened sense of awareness that you have, and it's sort of like an on edge that you have the whole time. Like as you see right there, I had to lift off. I don't know what this guy was doing, but he was not doing so hot. And so I wasn't being competitive in the GTR, and so I just decided this was my third race. I mean, all these races are about 20 minutes. I've been playing for about an hour and a half, and probably about an hour, and then I switched to this car, because I remember driving this in the career. I drove it for one race, and I mean, I fell in love with it immediately. I mean, that's what'll happen when you're driving a ton of crappy cars and then you switch to something like this. But, man, this thing was just ridiculous. A little bit of understeer. I couldn't quite tell because I like to feather the throttle as I come through a turn, especially so I can make sure I make it. Like you'll see me do it here. Watch. So, because I'm feathering it, I can't quite tell, but there's a lot of understeer with this car. Either off throttle or when you get back on it. I feel like it's off throttle a little bit, so you kind of have to be on the gas a little bit to get the car to turn. And it was giving me a little bit of trouble, but once I got a couple laps under my belt, I was really figuring it out, and it was just an absolutely epic race. And, you know, I mean, as you see, I'm in 4th now, so I had a crash early, and I had to pit early, and now I'm in, 4th place. But I was very slow in the GTR. I was a second or two off the pace, and I mean, if you're talking about running a 27-lap race, those are shorter laps. But if you're talking about running 27 laps, you should definitely be getting a pretty good lap time to get a real good feel for the track, but just the amount of crashing and stuff that was happening in there was pretty incredible. And see, especially like that section's already scary enough. It already, puckers you up a little bit when you're coming through there, but especially when it's full damage, it's a whole nother level. I mean, you're really like on the edge of your seat the whole time in these races because you know that any little slip up and you could hit a wall and then you could basically be done. And so, yeah, I mean, it was just, I wasn't being competitive with it. I couldn't get fast lap times, and I just felt like I needed to switch the car up. It felt fine, but I felt like I needed to switch it up, and that's something I've said before. A lot of times something can feel really good, like when I'm tuning or something will feel really on point, and I'm like, man, this is great, and then I race it a little bit, and the times are slow. But then other times, sometimes it doesn't feel quite right, but you decide to stick with it anyway just to give it a try, and it ends up being really good. So, in this case, I'm glad I switched to this thing. I mean, who knows what I could have done in the GTR. I wasn't as thorough as I usually am with these cars, so I don't know what the speed comparison is, or the acceleration handling comparison is, braking between that car and this car, but this car I was having a lot more success with, and this was the first race I switched to it, and I was like a full second faster than everybody else in the lobby, which was absolutely awesome. And, I mean, like I said, this is what Forza is all about for me. This is why I play Forza, is for times like this. Like, I was just absolutely enjoying it so much, having so much fun, just really, really enjoying it. And just, I mean, the car sounds phenomenal. And I enjoy racing like this, many, many laps, because you really get to get into that groove, and it really separates the people who are good drivers from, the bad ones. As you can see, there's like me, and then the guy behind me, and the guy behind him, and then look, we're already coming up to lapping people here. And, first and second and third are way up there. And, yeah, I mean, that's just a real scary section coming through there. And like I said, I do end up just completely obliterating the wall on one of those. I don't know what lap it is, but coming up later. So, yeah, I think, I don't know what this, I think I said this ranked me 15th, I think. Can't quite remember, and here we go again. You'll see me have to slow up from this guy. Did try to get past him there, and he was sort of, he took the outside line. I can't tell what place he's in, but definitely not ahead of me. But yeah, I mean, with those earlier races, like I was getting in the position where I was in like 18th out of 19th place, and I'd come up to a guy to pass him, and then I wouldn't be able to quite get past him, but me and a dude would be battling for like 4, 5, 6 laps, and he'd be in like 9th place or 12th place while I'm in 18th, and I'm like a lap down from him at least, and I was just keeping up right with him. So it wasn't necessarily that I was driving super slow, but I just, I got crashed a couple of times, and it was just, oof, that's never a good thing, and it wasn't quite working out exactly the way I had hoped. So yeah, this car was a real change. I mean, the spoiler on this thing is absolutely gargantuan. But the sound of this car is incredible. So, anyway, I think I'm going to leave it off there, guys. There's plenty of race here to watch, though, if you're interested in watching it. It is a really good, just a really good, consistent race all the way up to the end. And then I can't remember if I put in at the very end my leaderboard time or not at the end of the race, but it's just a really good, clean race. Just absolutely phenomenal race, and I can't even tell you how bad I was sweating this whole race. I mean, really just... It's a totally different experience to race something like this rather than just like, you know, hop in a random multiplayer lobby where everybody's smashing each other and, you know, everybody just crashes each other off and you race for 6 minutes and then you're done. You know, this is like a real long haul, and these races are long enough that there has to be a pit stop in there because you will lose your tires. As you can actually see down in the bottom right corner there, I'm starting to lose my right front tire, and I had to pit. I don't remember if it was the end of the first lap or the end of the second lap, but I already had to pit once, so I've only gone, you know, about 10 minutes, 6, 8, 7 minutes. I was experimenting there with trying to go a little bit deeper, and I shouldn't have done that so early. I've only got 5 laps under my belt. But yeah, as you can see, my tires are starting to go. Now the left front one's starting to get a little worn. And that's not like performance affecting yet, but it will be soon. And so these races are long enough that you do have to take a pit stop. So most people, you know, you can do the pit stop at least halfway, no earlier than halfway, because otherwise, you know, your tires won't last and you have to do 2 pit stops. But if all goes well, you could just, in theory, do 1 pit stop and be golden. But these are just way more tactical, way more fun. And yeah, so anyway, sorry I haven't uploaded for a few days, guys. I've been working out the kinks with this new recording stuff on the Xbox and then getting my new setup all put together. So yeah, so I appreciate you guys being here. Make sure you subscribe if you like my content. Check back my other videos. There's plenty of other content on my channel if you like stuff, especially Forza 7 stuff. And check back soon for another video coming soon.
Thank you guys, I appreciate it.